All right, I think we're going to get started. So thank you for everyone for joining this panel. This panel is, every company is a tech company. And for us to talk a little bit more about some of our Chicago companies and how they embrace technology. So on this panel today, so first, I'm Nuwan Samarawira. I'm P33's Chief Operating Officer. It's great to see you all here today for Tech Chicago Day. So quick introduction. So first we have Corry Stanley, who's the Director of App Development from Discover. We have Dr. Denitra Griffin, who's the President of AGB. And we have Stacey Wronkowski, who's the Vice President of Digital Technology at United Airlines. All right, so we're going to get right into this. So, first question to all of you. Thanks for being here. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the technology problems that you work on at your companies that may surprise us, that we may not know about United Airlines, about Discover, about AGB? Tell us about some of those problems you work on and what might the audience not know. Maybe I'll go to Stacey first.
Very happy to be here. Thanks for having us. You know, when you think about an airline, you're always thinking about your trip and getting to the airport and am I going to be on time? And one of the technologies we're very proud of that we worked on several years ago is a product called Connection Saver. And you may never see it, you may never hear about it, but it just might save your connection. A long time ago, a pilot said to us, there are many times I'm sitting in the flight deck, I look out the window, and I can see the door closing and customers still coming to the gate. And it's terrible. They're missing their connection. And what makes it harder for our pilots when they see this is sometimes that plane doesn't pull away for 10 or 15 minutes. And this pilot said to us, you must have all the data. There has to be something you can do. So we talked to our analytics team, we talked to our application developers, and they came up with this amazing solution called Connection Saver. It stitches everything together. We know when our customers are flying, we know where they're going, we know when they're connecting, we know how long it takes from gate to gate, and we know how long we can actually hold that plane. And so we built this product, we launched it, and to date, we have saved 1.5 million connections, and we are proud of that.
I think what's unique about AGB Investigative Services, when we first initially evolved as an organization, we were primarily focused on physical guard services. And so what we quickly realized as a physical guard company, you do collect data. And so if you are an industry or a company that manages people, you need to be able to manage their time and attendance. There's a certain level of reporting that is necessary. And so there's a lot of data that comes in and out of the organization. What we quickly realize is that no one pays attention to the security of the data. And so not only have we been able to leverage our expertise in securing people and property, we now have become a SME in being able to protect data. And so that is to protect the data that comes into our office, that we have to report to our premier clients, and then it's now a service that we provide. So we are also not just in the physical guard service business, but also in the cybersecurity service business as well.
So what I think most people would find surprising about Discover is just really how much technology we do have. I think that people don't or may really know Discover as the card in their wallet, but Discover is more than that. Discover is a digital bank that issues that card. But in addition to that, Discover is also responsible for the customer experience, so the applications that run the call centers and the website for the internet-facing experience. Discover is also a payments network. We have 3 of them. There's Discover Network, there's Diners Club International, and there's Pulse. And the payments networks are responsible for allowing those cards to be used anywhere in the world, safely and securely. And then the payments network is responsible for moving the money between the financial institutions. Discover's in the lending space with student loans and personal loans, home loans, and our bank has checking and savings products. So all of these different products in market have a ton of technology behind them. We have hundreds of applications that are in production. Last year we had over 100,000 changes in production to support all of these applications. So production stability and reliability is a key focus for us at Discover.
Thank you. Technology has become ubiquitous the last 20 years, and everyone's been on a journey internally to figure out how you each become a technology company. And I think one thing we have observed at P33, working with lots of companies in Chicago, is everyone's at different stages on that digital transformation. Would love to hear a little bit more from each of you about what that transformation has looked like over the last 10, 15 years as technology has become ubiquitous inside your company. And what's gone right for you guys, and where have there been challenges that you've had to overcome? And maybe, Stacey, start us off.
Okay.
Sorry, Corry, start us off.
That's okay. Okay, so the financial services industry is very highly regulated. So in this space, especially in payments over the last 10 years, there's been a ton of innovation. And us as engineers have a responsibility to bring quality products into the marketplace safely for our consumers. So what this means is that as an engineering leader at Discover, I have the opportunity to partner with the business every day to help create products for our customers. And over the last 10 years, if you think back, 10 years ago, we didn't use our phones to pay for anything. Mobile wallets didn't exist. You couldn't tap for transit. And these are the results of partnerships, like internally, the technology team partnering with the business, and then partnering with external parties to make sure that we can get these products in market. And do you remember another example of innovation in the marketplace is do you remember what it was like to eat out at a restaurant and split the bill 10 different ways before PayPal or Venmo or Apple Pay Cash? That didn't exist 10 years ago. I have a severe dislike to writing checks. Who writes checks anymore? I don't want you to raise your hand, actually. Don't tell me. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to you and say, can I help you set up Venmo? Can I help you set up PayPal? Because that's what I do. If someone asks me to write them a check, I ask them to do it digitally. Can I digitally give you this cash? Because that's where we are. That's what's happened. That's what's changed in the last 10 to 15 years in the payment space.
Technology has been very critical to our infrastructure. We started with a very small business. My husband and I both co-own AGB Investigative Services. And with the inception of technology, it has allowed us to do a couple of things. It has allowed us to mitigate risk. It has allowed us to reduce costs. It has allowed us to increase productivity, to the point that we are one of the largest African-American-owned security guard services and cybersecurity services in the country. And so because of that technological infrastructure, it has allowed for us to be headquartered in Chicago, but also I have a team in Texas, I have a team in New York, I have a team in Georgia, I have a team in Florida, and sprinkles of people on the West Coast. So that has been the advantage. However, the challenges to your question has been communication. And so what I challenge everyone in my office to do, when there is a concept or idea regarding a technological solution, it has to be coupled with a communication strategy, because the inception of technology means nothing if no one's using it. And so when you present that technology solution without communication, because that's something we've experienced, and it went flop. So then I had to come in, cheer everybody on, get everybody on the bandwagon, say how great the tool is, get my key stakeholders involved. But I also had to teach and train my team the importance of being a change agent when you're including or initiating a new technological solution. And we've learned a lot from that.
We started investing in technology at United about 7 or 8 years ago. And it was about modernization. It was about putting mobile devices in the hands of all of our employees. It was about building an award-winning mobile app for our customers so that we were always with them. But the pandemic was very hard for the entire airline and travel industry. There was a day in April of 2020 where we had more pilots flying planes than customers on board. It was 9,000. Just to put it in perspective, before the pandemic, on a great day, we had about 500,000 passengers a day. This past holiday weekend, 600,000 a day. And so it puts it in perspective. And in a moment, that was incredibly hard for the whole world. While many people were waiting for something around them to change, we said, let's use this time to invest in innovation. We started accelerating the move to the cloud. We started getting off those mainframes. We started testing new things like contactless payments, which on an airplane is kind of a novel concept. And we found ways to do that all throughout the pandemic. I'm not going to say we're done. We still have a long road ahead. In fact, in technology, does that road ever end? No, because it changes so fast. And there's always an opportunity. There's always an idea. But we are better today and more prepared to be the largest airline in the world because of that investment during the pandemic.
So I heard a few themes there, right? So I heard adoption, I heard communication, I heard change. And where I go next is, what type of people do you need to be able to do that? Because I think one of the things that we see in Chicago is the word tech can often be reserved for certain companies and certain companies only. And the reality is that every company is a tech company, hence this panel. And there's really incredible work being done at all of your companies. And we want to make sure that tech talent knows that there are incredible roles for them solving really tough, critical problems at your companies. So when you start to talk about adoption, communication, change, what type of skills are you looking for in people, both folks inside your organization, and how have you had to think about how you evolve their skills? And then when you look outside to people who are interested in your company, what type of skills, but also what types of behaviors and mindsets are going to tell you that someone is going to be successful inside your company? Maybe Denitra, we'll start with you.
Sure, I love that question. Thank you. Because I would challenge anyone that has a tech background to really think about starting your career or even evolving your career in middle market industries. And I say that because you have the opportunity to learn and grow and develop quick and fast. Small businesses, small, medium-sized businesses like mine, we really give you a landscape to learn and fail without consequences. There's more coaching, training, and development that takes place, which we value. And so the type of person that I am looking for, AGB means always giving back. So first, you have to be aligned to our mission. And then, outside of having the technical skills, in order to get the job done, I'm looking for someone who has the spirit of curiosity. So approaching problems, situations, and circumstances through curiosity. Ask questions. How can I learn more? What can I do different? What can I do better? How can I help solve that problem? And I think with those combination of emotional intelligence as well as those hardcore technical skills, you'll be a great asset wherever you go.
Stacey?
Sure. I mean, look, we're an airline. We hope you like to travel. We hope you want to see the world. It's a big place, but it's a wonderful place. And so we always talk about that first. We also want to be a good airline, and we're talking about what that means. It's funny, when I joined United 6 years ago, I asked someone on my first day, what haven't they told me, right? You've all had a job where you're like, I know there's something they haven't told me. And this person looked at me and smiled and said, "People are gonna hug you." And it just speaks to how passionate we are about what we do. It speaks to how collaborative we want to be. And we recently have coined the phrase, inclusion propels innovation. Because when you get different people that come from different places, that think differently together in a room, you're gonna get the best ideas. And that's something that we really want to have in our culture, which means the skill you need is to embrace that. We can talk about technical skills. We can say, hey, you development skills, this language, have you worked with the cloud? And that is all part of the conversation. But we've recently launched a program in digital technology called Innovate. And we want to create opportunities for those that have a non-traditional educational background. And so for that program, we're looking for individuals that meet and check the boxes that I talked about in the beginning. Do you bring passion? Do you bring, hard work ethic? Do you want to be part of this? And we are creating a curriculum, a certification path, an apprenticeship path to get the day-to-day skills that you need to be part of a technology team at United. We're going to hire 500 people in that program over the next 5 years.
So I think I would answer this in two ways from Discover's perspective. Discover invests in their employees. And we have a strong commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And a couple of examples of that are specific to Chicago is that Chicago was represented in the Pride Parade last month. Chicago's made a significant investment in our Chatham call center. And I know that there's a couple of Chatham people here. You'll hear about it. There you are. There's going to be some people talking about our Chatham call center experience on a panel after this. So the bringing of diverse backgrounds and investing in our people is definitely one of the ways that I would answer this question about skills. The other thing that I would take the opportunity to talk about is we need to create. It's not just about getting the people with the. It's not just about getting. Can you still hear me? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Getting the people with the right skills. As engineering leaders, we need to cultivate a culture where people can learn and grow. So one of the ways that we do that is we've created this Discover Technology Academy, which is a platform that allows our experienced engineers a way to share content so that people who may be new to the organization or more junior folks can upskill themselves to understand what it is to work on Discover specific applications. It's really nice for a new engineer to the organization to go to this site and have these golden paths laid out so that they don't have to waste time trying to figure out how do I set up my workspace and who do I talk to if my build's failing. It's a community. We have a hybrid working experience. So you no longer have the opportunity to stop by your senior engineer and say, hey, I need 10 minutes because I don't understand this. What we've got to do is we've got to recreate that. We've got to recreate that in a virtual way, and this is where the Discover Tech Academy was born. Now, it's a user interface. It's back-ended by GitHub so that you can post content quickly. There's thousands of pieces of internally developed content that help create this experience for the engineers. We've recently made it available publicly. You can find it at technology.discover.com.
So just bouncing off of that a little bit, one of the things that we often see is, again, when you think tech, you tend to think engineer and you tend to think computer scientist. And Chicago has historically had a bit more of a reputation when it comes to some of the tech firms for being hubs for sales and hubs for marketing and so forth. And I think that what we're seeing is that slowly but surely that's turning. And part of that is our university system and how many engineers we churn out from the university system. I'm curious, how important is it at your company that someone in marketing or someone in HR, right, like they're inside your company, right, they're tech adjacent, they're having to work with tech in many respects. How important is it that when you're thinking about those folks internally, that they are embracing technology, that they are thinking of themselves as a technologist? Do you think that's additive, or do you think that that's a nice to have? Maybe Stacey, go first.
You know, I think it's just the way it's becoming for all of us. Technology is embedded in our day-to-day lives, no matter what you do for a living. And everybody's got a phone in their pocket. Everybody's got their favorite app. Everybody's got their favorite way of doing it. And we probably all have one secret that we still do the old-fashioned way. Like, I loved your examples. Who's writing checks? And I think we're starting to bring that to work. Analytics is a fantastic example where at United, we want analytics everywhere. And while we have a central hub of data scientists that work across the enterprise, we are encouraging and helping our business partners build their own analytics teams within functions, because that drives expertise. And it's interesting to see how quickly the technology is embraced, because you start putting the data in the hands of the people that need it. Data's not any good locked up in a database somewhere where you got to open a ticket and ask an IT person if you could have it, right? And doing things like that is where you get the engagement. And so you'll have a tremendous number of people who come to you and say, hey, I want to be a part of this, I have an idea, or hey, we need help from digital technology, we don't know how to move it forward, but we know you do. And you'll start to see it at United the next time you go to an airport. Pause for a minute and look around. When you walk into what we call the lobby, that's where the ticket counters are, you're going to see new kiosks, you're going to see biometrics, you're going to see an employee who always has a mobile device. You're going to see things like bag drop shortcuts, so you don't have to wait in line anymore. You're going to see it at the gate. There's going to be new signage. You're going to get off the plane, it's going to tell you where you got to go, because we know. We talked about that earlier. And so it's just becoming so much of who we are that all of our employees are just thriving in the environment. And there's so much demand that we need a lot of wonderful people to come and be part of digital technology.
I think for us, AGB, about 92% of my staff members are minorities. And what we've realized as owners of the company is that there is, in fact, a digital divide based on socioeconomic status. And so even someone who comes in as an entry-level employee, as a security guard, may be challenged with using technology. But our company is built up and built around the needs and the use of technology. So what does that mean for us? That means that there's a lot of training and development that has to be done. Although we would love for everyone who works with us to have some level of fundamental technological skill set, unfortunately that doesn't exist in my world. And so when I hire an HR manager or an HR generalist, they may not have experience with ADP. So that means I have to make sure they get trained on ADP and understand the implications of entering data in the system, because what that means to another department as it relates to compliance and regulatory compliance. So it's a lot of training and developing that we are committed to, which separates our security company from many of the others. And that's the commitment that we make. And that's why I said, when I look for people to be a part of our team, you have to be aligned with our mission, which is always giving back. Because without that, you will not have the patience and the commitment in order to grow and develop our staff.
So when I think about technology adjacent at Discover, it really makes me think about our product journey that we're on. Shifting from, you hear a lot of buzzwords about shifting from a project mindset to a product mindset. And really what that does is that enables the business team, the business teams that we work with to understand the technology that creates their product. And there's power in that. There's power in that if they can be in a meeting where they're with a customer and they know the answer to a question because they understand what they're supporting. That's one of the fundamental wins of the product mindset, and helping all those, the more people that I can get to be advocates for my technology, the better off I am. The easier my job is, the easier their job is.
So, given that there's a lot of people in this audience who may not be an engineer, but maybe tech curious, and we know that from the population demographics that we saw in the sign up, who may be interested in getting into tech more closely, what would you say is your number one or two pieces of advice for someone who is trying to get into a company like yours that is, along the continuum of the journey into being a technology company? Some of you are already there. What would you give them as advice in terms of what are the one or two things that you should do if you're close to tech but not quite there and you're trying to get in? What should they do?
First, okay. I have two thoughts on this. Firstly, tech doesn't exist in isolation. We're here as technologists to enable the business. We're helping you to create products that can exist in the marketplace. So understanding technology is one thing, understanding the business that it's going to empower is the second thing. And then one of the pieces of advice that I give to the new members of my staff is there's a lot to learn here, and you will never know everything, but you will get comfortable with what you don't know.
Yes, that's great advice. Because I agree with you wholeheartedly. I really think that what we try to encourage is that no one works in a silo. And so although you may be a tech expertise, you still need that business acumen, whether it's financial, whether it's operations, whether it's human resources, whether it's marketing. You still need to know the fundamentals of how to operationalize the business. And so to be a great tech added value individual, I would say learn as much as you can about the revenue cycle and the business operations.
I bet a lot of you are thinking that our three companies don't have a lot in common. But listening and learning from my new friends today, I can tell you that we aren't just talking about jobs, we are talking about careers. We celebrate 20, 30, 40, 45-year anniversaries every day. And I'm guessing your companies do too.
22 years.
Yeah, exactly. And so, your question's a fascinating one because I think we could all tell stories about moments where we wanted to do something, but we felt intimidated. We felt like we didn't belong. And in this space, you shouldn't feel that way. Everyone has something to offer and bring to the table. And find that for yourself and think about the other opportunities at companies like ours that will allow you to grow into a career. We're coming up with neat jobs, things like story writers and storytellers. I mean, that's just one example, and they're so close to technology, you start to get the skills just by being part of the adventure. And so my biggest advice is tell yourself you belong here and figure out what that strength is that you bring to the table and go find that career because the company's going to surround you with support.
Thank you, Stacey. So I think I've got time for two more questions. So the first one is around Chicago. So Discover and United and AGB are all Chicago-based companies. And Discover has made a huge investment on the south side of Chicago that we all know about. And United is doing huge things around apprenticeships that we're very proud to work with you all on. I know AGB, as you mentioned, 92% of your staff are minorities. Give us your best pitch on why Chicago and why your company has decided to have its roots and continue to have its roots in Chicago.
Well, for us, my husband and I are both Chicago natives. We were both born on the south side of Chicago. And our business actually started in the basement of our home. We lived in the Rosemore area on 102nd and St. Lawrence. As the business grew, our office space changed. But what we didn't want to change was our mission. And so we know internally and intuitively the benefits that we've reaped from being a Southsider. So my church was an anchor in my development. And that's how I was able to get access and exposure to the things that helped me obtain a fraction of success. Like him, he was the same way. His roots were on the South Side. So Chicago has been an intricate part of our lives growing up as kids, and directly aligned to our mission of always giving back. We wanted to make sure we position ourselves on the south side of Chicago so minorities can see high quality professional individuals do not always have to be downtown. When you come into my office, you see black professionals that are across all business units. You see well-esteemed, established black artists that have work displayed across my walls. So we were intentional about and deliberate about being on the south side of Chicago simply because of what Chicago had provided to us.
That's awesome. It's going to be hard to beat. But I think you tell a really great story about how it's not just Chicago investing. There are so many leaders who are also investing, who want to be here. I grew up in upstate New York. I'm not from Chicago, but I came here in the early 2000s, and I loved it here. Look out the window. We got a lake that thinks it's an ocean. You can go to the beach and look at the skyline. You can name a couple of cities that have that, Barcelona, but not many. And so if that's not enough for you, I think events like this and the organizations that so many people here are a part of, I mean, there are people here today who want to welcome you into their company. This is a sign of investment and what the tech community means to Chicago. And if that's not enough, you got an airport that's got a nonstop almost anywhere in the world.
I don't know that I have much more to add, but just a little bit of history, I would say. I don't know if any of you remember or were born in 1986, which is when the dawn of Discover happened. Discover was originally part of Sears Roebuck, which, does anybody remember what the Willis Tower used to be called before it was the Willis Tower? So Discover has its roots in some Chicago history here. And back in the day, the Dawners, they're mostly retired now, but we had many people who would tell us about how they grew the business by going out merchant by merchant and helping them with those card readers that you swipe. You had to put the card in. This is for all the younger people. You had to put your card in, and you had to put a duplicative thing, a piece of paper on top, and they had to swipe it across. And then I had a copy of your credit card. I had to write the dollar amount on it, and you had to sign it. And that's how credit cards used to work. So the team, the sales team, had to go out and grow the network deal by deal, person by person. So Chicago is a great part of Discover's history.
Thank you. All right, so I think I've got time for one last question. So what is the question you wanted me to ask you, that you wanted to say something about that I haven't asked you yet? But what final words would you want to put forth to the audience that I haven't asked you yet?
So I would say that there's some good stuff that we're doing at Discover as far as winning awards for technology that we've built. Recently, and I apologize if this is going to go a little deep, but we've won an award from the American Business Association for our Trident 2.0 pipeline. And what that is that's a way of automating production deployments safely and securely, making sure that we've got all the change management and audit checks in place. And that's some pretty exciting work that we're doing. Also, we have a presence in the UK. We have a staff of around 400 engineers that are based out of the London office. And they recently got accepted by the British Computing Society, which is a great achievement, and it's very it means a lot to the people in the UK. It's not as well known over here, but I can guarantee to you that one of the senior managers over in the London office has become a fellow of the British Computing Society, and this is a great achievement and something that signifies that we're recognized as technologists outside of our own four walls. That someone came in and said, we're going to make you a platinum partner. So those are some of the things that I would have liked to talk about.
Denitra?
Well, I really wanted to hear more about, like, if there were any podcasts, if there were any recommended books that you read, like what piece of literature or what kind of book or something that has anchored you in your profession.
So I'm part of the Women in Tech group, and we just had Shalmina come in and talk about her book, Know Your Worth. And we're currently doing a book club where we're reading it chapter by chapter. It's a bit of an investment if you follow along. I think it's called Know Your Worth. It encourages you to take a look at yourself and figure out the parts of yourself you want to invest in. It's really good stuff.
No rules rule. There's a whole culture of empowerment where rules don't work. And when you take them out of the equation, people do the right thing. And it actually allows an organization to thrive and move beyond the constraint. That's a great question. All right, what's yours?
I love to read. A really good book for entrepreneurs was Traction. That was actually recommended from one of my colleagues. I also anchor myself with The Path Made Clear by Oprah Winfrey, as we just kind of think about leaders in organizations. You just kind of need something that anchors you as a professional, and that's a book that I read absolutely every year. Kind of helps you understand life and the why of life. And then there's a couple of CEOs that I've kind of follow and track their progression. I'm a big fan of Jamie Dimon, who's the CEO of Chase Bank. The current CEO of Disney, and I think that's it, right? Yeah. He gets tired of me. That's my husband. Oh, and I'm such a fan of T.D. Jakes, so I listen to his YouTube channel almost every week.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you doing this today. Stacey from United Airlines, Denitra from AGB, and Corry from Discover. I want to thank you very much for both supporting the event today, for your partnership with P33 and with TechChicago, for your commitment to Chicago. So thank you, and thank you all for listening to the panel today. We really appreciate it.